My family uninvited me from Christmas at the $8,000 chalet I paid for, so I canceled it and watched their perfect holiday dreams collapse. It all started with a dream, but not my dream. It was my mother's. For as long as I can remember, my mom has been obsessed with the idea of a perfect Christmas, the kind you only see in movies where the snow is always pristine, the fireplace is always crackling, and families are gathered together in matching pajamas, sipping hot cocoa without a single ounce of resentment or dysfunction in sight. Her personal version of this fantasy always took place in a massive, luxurious log cabin, a chalet nestled high in the mountains, preferably somewhere like Aspen, with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out onto a winter wonderland. Every year, around November, she'd start sighing wistfully while watching holiday movies, saying things like, "Oh, just imagine if we could all be together in a place like that, just once." And every year, we'd nod along, knowing it was a pipe dream. We're a comfortable family, but not an $8,000 for a week in Aspen kind of family. Or at least, they weren't. I was the outlier. I'm the one who worked 60-hour weeks at a tech firm, the one who lived and breathed code and project deadlines, and as a result, I was the one with the disposable income. I've always been the reliable one, the fixer, the one my parents called when the car broke down, the one my older sister, Jessica, called when she needed a last-minute babysitter or a small loan that was never really a loan. I never minded, truly. It felt good to be able to provide, to ease their burdens. So this year, when I received a bonus that was substantially larger than I had anticipated, my first thought wasn't about a new car or a lavish trip for myself. It was about my mother's dream. I spent days secretly researching, scrolling through websites with breathtaking photos of rustic chic interiors, stone fireplaces big enough to stand in, and private hot tubs steaming under a canopy of snow-laden pines. I finally found it, the Winter Wonderland Chalet. It was perfect. 6 bedrooms, a gourmet kitchen, a game room, and a view that looked like it had been personally painted by Bob Ross. The price tag was steep, a whopping $8,000 for the week of Christmas, but the image of my mother's face when I told her was all the justification I needed. I booked it, paid the entire amount up front, and printed out the confirmation, my heart thumping with excitement. I decided to reveal the surprise at our weekly family dinner. When the time was right, I cleared my throat and handed my mom a simple white envelope. She opened it, her brow furrowed in confusion as she read the booking details. Her eyes scanned the page once, then twice. A slow-motion wave of understanding washed over her face, followed by a gasp. Then came the tears. Not sad tears, but the kind of overwhelming, joyful sobs that shake a person's whole body. "You didn't," she whispered, looking at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. My dad read the paper over her shoulder, his jaw dropping. Jessica snatched it from his hands, her eyes bugging out. "Aspen? For Christmas? Are you serious, Alex?" The rest of the evening was a blur of ecstatic chaos. My mom couldn't stop hugging me. My dad kept clapping me on the shoulder, calling me the best son a man could ask for. My younger brother, Ben, who is usually too cool for anything, had a genuine, impressed smile on his face. Even Jessica, and her husband Mark, who always seemed to carry a faint air of competitive judgment, were gushing. "Oh, Alex, this is the most amazing gift anyone has ever given us," Jessica exclaimed, already tapping away on her phone, presumably telling her entire social circle. I felt like I was floating. This was why I worked so hard. To create moments like this. In the following weeks, planning for the trip became the sole topic of conversation. A group chat was created, and it was buzzing at all hours. At first, I was at the center of it all. I was the one with the login details, the one who knew the chalet's amenities, the one who could answer all the questions. The excitement was infectious. We planned a menu for Christmas dinner, coordinated who would bring which board games, and argued playfully over which classic holiday movies were essential for our viewing pleasure. My niece and nephew, Leo and Mia, would call me just to talk about building a snowman. It felt like my mother's dream was weaving a magical spell over all of us, bringing us closer. But then, a subtle shift began to occur, so subtle that at first, I barely noticed it. Jessica started taking the lead on the planning. "Alex, you're just so swamped with that big project at work," she'd say in a saccharine sweet voice. Why don't you let me handle the little details? I've got more time. I was genuinely grateful initially. My workload was intense, and I appreciated her taking things off my plate. But then the little details started to become everything. She booked ski rentals for herself, Mark, and the kids without asking me about my shoe size. She created a detailed itinerary for activities, sending it out as a final for approval PDF rather than a collaborative document. The pings from the main group chat became less frequent. Then I found out why. Ben casually mentioned a new chat he'd been added to called Aspen Christmas Dream. I wasn't in it. When I asked him about it, he shrugged. Jess said it was just for coordinating the kids' stuff, to not bother you with it. It stung, but I told myself I was being too sensitive. I was busy, after all. This was probably just her trying to be efficient. Then came the introduction of Chloe. Chloe is my cousin, technically, but she's always been firmly in Jessica's orbit. They were more like co-conspirators than cousins. Chloe had a knack for stirring the pot and making passive-aggressive comments that were just plausible enough to deny. I had never been a fan. One evening, Jessica made an announcement in the original, now dusty group chat. Amazing news, everyone! Chloe and her wonderful new boyfriend, Derek, are going to be able to join us for Christmas in Aspen. Isn't that just fabulous? I stared at my phone. I wasn't asked. The chalet had 6 bedrooms, which was perfect for my parents, Jessica and Mark, me, Ben, and the 2 kids having their own room. Adding 2 more people was going to make things complicated. I called Jessica, trying to keep my tone light. Hey, that's great about Chloe. Just wondering where everyone is going to sleep? There was a brief pause. Oh, don't you worry your little head about that, Alex, she said breezily. I've got it all figured out. It'll be perfect, you'll see. Her dismissive tone set my teeth on edge, but I let it go. I didn't want to be the one to cause drama over the perfect Christmas I was funding. That was my mistake. I should have seen it as the giant, flashing red warning sign it was. The other shoe dropped a week later, with a phone call that I will replay in my mind for the rest of my life. It was Jessica again. Her voice was strangely gentle, the way a person speaks when they're about to deliver bad news. Hey, Alex. So, I was talking with Mom and Mark, and we were just going over the final logistics for the trip, she trailed off. I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach. Okay? I said. Well, we were looking at the sleeping arrangements, and it's just so tight with Chloe and Derek coming. The master suite is perfect for me and Mark, obviously. Mom and Dad get the one with the ensuite. The kids need their room, of course. Ben can take the little room by the stairs. And Chloe and Derek really need a proper room since they're guests. She was listing them off, and I was doing the math in my head. The 6 bedrooms were accounted for. I didn't exist in her equation. And where am I sleeping, Jess? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Well, that's the thing, she said, her voice oozing fake sympathy. We were all thinking, and you know how much you hate the cold, and you're not really a big skier. Plus, you're always having to take work calls, even on vacation. We just thought, maybe it would be less stressful for you if you just stayed home and had a relaxing Christmas to yourself? We could do a big video call on Christmas morning. It would be like you're right there with us. I was speechless. The world tilted on its axis. It felt like I had been punched in the gut, the wind knocked completely out of me. What are you talking about? I finally managed to say. Jessica, I paid for the entire trip. It's my gift to the family. To Mom. Of course I'm coming. Her voice hardened instantly, the syrupy sweetness vanishing. Alex, don't make this difficult. It's a simple numbers problem. There isn't a bed for you. Are you saying Chloe and her boyfriend should sleep on the floor? Are you saying you want to kick your own brother out of his room? The only other option is the pull-out sofa in the living room, and we didn't think you'd want that, with everyone getting up early and making noise.
We are trying to be considerate of you.
The audacity was breathtaking. They were uninviting me from my own gift and framing it as a favor.
So you're telling me that I am no longer welcome on the trip I spent $8,000 on?
I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of rage and hurt.
Don't be so dramatic, she scoffed.
We've already made all the plans.
The itinerary is set. It's just easier this way for everyone. We'll bring you back a nice souvenir.
She hung up before I could say another word.
I immediately called my parents. My mom answered, her voice hesitant. Oh, honey.
I heard you talked to Jessica.
I laid it all out, my voice cracking with emotion.
I expected her to be furious on my behalf, to march in and fix it.
Instead, she was weak, evasive.
Well, Jessica does have a point that the chalet is a bit full, and she just wants everything to be perfect.
You know how she gets. Maybe it's for the best? We don't want any fighting to ruin the holiday. My own mother. Siding with them.
Or, at the very least, refusing to stand up for me. The betrayal felt like a physical wound.
Ben was the only one in my corner.
He called me, incandescent with rage.
This is insane, Alex. I told them it's your trip.
They're being ridiculous. But he was outnumbered. The family consensus had been reached, and I was on the outside.
For the next 24 hours, I was in a daze of misery.
I scrolled through my sister's social media, a form of self-torture. There were pictures of her and my mom shopping for new ski jackets. A post about the custom Christmas stockings she ordered for everyone, with names embroidered on them.
My name wasn't there. Chloe's was.
I saw a picture of my niece, Mia, holding up a sign that said, Aspen or bust. The caption, written by Jessica, read, "Getting ready for the best Christmas ever, making memories that will last a lifetime thanks to my amazing husband."
No mention of me.
It was like I had been erased. The hurt began to curdle, solidifying into a cold, hard knot of anger in my chest.
They hadn't just uninvited me. They had stolen my gift.
They had taken my generosity, my desire to do something beautiful for our mother, and twisted it into a vehicle for their own selfish vacation, a vacation that I was still expected to foot the bill for. The thought was so absurd, so utterly galling, that it jolted me out of my stupor. They thought I would just roll over and accept it. They thought I would quietly sit at home on Christmas Day, wait for their pity video call from the luxurious chalet I paid for, and swallow my pride.
They underestimated me.
They had forgotten who they were dealing with.
I was the fixer. I was the reliable one.
I was the one who handled the details.
I pulled up the reservation confirmation email. My name was on it.
My credit card was on it.
My contact information was on it.
I picked up my phone and dialed the number for the chalet rental company.
A pleasant woman answered. Good afternoon, Winter Wonderland Chalet Rentals, how may I help you?
I took a deep breath, my voice steady and calm.
Hello, I said. I need to cancel a reservation. I gave her my name and the dates. She tapped on her keyboard. Yes, I have it right here. The Winter Wonderland Chalet, December 22nd to the 29th. May I ask the reason for the cancellation? Change of plans, I said simply.
She explained the cancellation policy. Because it was still a few weeks away, I would be refunded the full amount, minus the non-refundable $1,000 deposit.
$1,000. A small price to pay for what was coming. That's perfectly fine, I told her. Please proceed with the cancellation.
There was more tapping.
All right, sir.
The reservation has been officially canceled.
You'll receive an email confirmation shortly. Thank you, I said, and hung up. A wave of something dark and powerful washed over me. It wasn't just relief.
It was a grim, chilling satisfaction.
The deed was done. And I didn't tell a soul. I let them continue. I watched from the digital sidelines as Jessica posted a countdown on her Instagram story. Only 5 days until our Aspen Christmas dream. I saw my dad post a picture of the car being loaded onto the driveway, skis strapped to the roof rack. I imagined the excitement in their car as they embarked on the long, 8-hour drive into the mountains. I pictured the kids in the back seat, buzzing with anticipation, my parents in the front, my mom probably already crying happy tears again, Jessica feeling smug and victorious. I imagined them singing Christmas carols, their perfect family on their way to their perfect holiday. I spent that day in a state of quiet, humming anticipation. I ordered myself a pizza and put on a movie, but I couldn't focus. I just kept checking the clock. Around 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a frantic series of texts from Jessica. "What's the code for the door? Alex, answer me. The code you sent isn't working." I ignored them. I let the pizza get cold. A few minutes later, the phone rang. The caller ID showed Jessica's face. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, immediately. This time it was my dad. I let that go, too. Finally, a third call from Jessica. This time, I answered, putting the phone on speaker. The sound that erupted was not a voice, but a shriek. "Alex! Where are you? The code isn't working. We're all standing out here, it's freezing. The kids are crying. Call the rental company, you have to fix this." I let her finish, listening to the cacophony of panicked voices in the background. Then, in the calmest, most detached voice I could muster, I said, "What are you talking about, Jessica? What chalet?" There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end, as if her brain couldn't process the question. "The chalet in Aspen. The $8,000 chalet. The one you booked for us," she screamed, her voice cracking with hysteria. "Oh, that one," I said, taking a slow bite of my now lukewarm pizza. "I canceled that reservation weeks ago. Didn't you get the notification? It would have been sent to my email address. You know, since I was the one who paid for it and made the booking." The silence that followed was profound, a black hole of disbelief. I could practically hear the gears grinding to a halt in her head. "And since I was uninvited," I continued, my voice as cold and clear as the mountain air they were standing in, "I naturally assumed the entire trip was called off. Why would I continue to pay for a party I wasn't allowed to attend?" The dam broke. It was pure, unadulterated chaos. I could hear Mark yelling in the background, something about suing me. I could hear my mother openly sobbing. I could hear Leo and Mia wailing. And above it all was Jessica, screaming, absolutely unhinged. "You ruined Christmas. You ruined it. How could you be so selfish? So petty? Selfish?" I asked, and for the first time, I let the raw anger seep into my voice. "Let me see if I understand this. You took my gift, a gift I bought for our mother, and you hijacked it. You kicked me out of it, erased me from the plan, and still expected me to silently pay for your perfect vacation. You are stranded on a mountain in the middle of the night not because of me, Jessica. You are there because of your own greed and entitlement. That's not how gifts work. That's not how family works. I suggest you start checking for vacancies at the local motel. Though I hear Aspen is quite booked up this time of year. Merry Christmas." I hung up the phone. Then I blocked her number. And my parents' numbers. And Mark's. I sat there in the quiet of my apartment, the silence a stark contrast to the pandemonium I had just unleashed. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt quiet. The storm had passed, and I was in the eye of it. A few days passed in blessed silence. I spent my time cleaning my apartment, catching up on sleep, and trying not to think about it. Then, on Christmas Eve, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. It was Ben. "Hey," he said, his voice weary. "I'm at a buddy's place. I had to get out of there." He proceeded to tell me the full story of what happened after I hung up.
They had, in fact, been stranded. Every hotel, motel, and inn for 100 miles was completely booked. They spent hours on the phone, getting more and more desperate. The fighting was apparently biblical. Mark blamed Jessica, Jessica blamed me, and my parents just cried. In the end, defeated and exhausted, they had to pile back into the car and make the 8-hour drive home, in the dead of night, with 2 screaming children. Their perfect Christmas was spent in bitter, resentful silence on the highway. Christmas Day at their house was, according to Ben, the most miserable day he had ever witnessed. The presents remained under the tree, untouched. The festive food went uncooked. My mom wouldn't come out of her room. Jessica and Mark weren't speaking. It was the complete and utter collapse of their holiday dreams. A part of me felt a grim satisfaction, but mostly I just felt sad. Sad for the Christmas that could have been. But then, Ben took a deep breath. "That's not the whole story, Alex," he said. "There's something else you need to know. The real reason they wanted you out of the picture." He explained that it was never really about the lack of space. That was just the excuse. The real reason was Chloe's new boyfriend, Derek. Derek wasn't just some guy, he was a moderately successful travel vlogger with a couple 100,000 subscribers. The entire plan, cooked up by Jessica and Chloe, was to stage a perfect, organic family Christmas for his channel. They imagined a viral video, a heartwarming montage of their beautiful family in a stunning luxury chalet, skiing, opening presents, laughing by the fire. Jessica thought this would be her big break, a launchpad for the lifestyle influencer career she'd always dreamed of. She had planned to have Mark subtly mention his successful business and how he had provided this amazing trip for the family. They were going to monetize my gift, my tribute to our mother's dream, and spin it into a lie for social media clout. And why was I uninvited? "Because you're awkward on camera, man," Ben said, his voice full of apology. "Jessica said you wouldn't know how to act natural and you'd ruin the aesthetic. You wouldn't have gone along with the fake narrative anyway. They needed you, and your money, out of the way so they could control the whole story." The phone felt heavy in my hand. The second wave of betrayal hit me with the force of a tsunami. This was so much worse than simple entitlement. This was a calculated, premeditated, deeply cynical plot. They had intended to use me, humiliate me, and then profit off a lie built on the foundation of my generosity. They weren't just taking my gift, they were twisting it into something ugly and false. At that moment, any lingering guilt I had vanished, incinerated by a white-hot rage. I had done the right thing. My petty act of revenge now felt like a righteous act of justice. I spent Christmas Day with Ben. He came over to my apartment, and we didn't talk about the family drama. We ordered a feast of Chinese food, binged all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and fell asleep on the couch. It was quiet, it was simple, and it was one of the best Christmases I've ever had. We actually connected, without the noise and pretense that always surrounded our family gatherings. The fallout in the weeks that followed was, for lack of a better word, epic. When my parents finally found out from Ben about the vlogger scheme, their disappointment in Jessica curdled into pure horror. The lie was too big, too calculated for them to excuse. Derek the vlogger, wanting to distance himself from the spectacular implosion of drama, broke up with Chloe and scrubbed any mention of her from his social media. Jessica's influencer dreams died before they ever began. Her marriage to Mark is hanging by a thread, the disastrous trip having exposed all the cracks in their foundation. I've received a few rambling, self-pitying texts from Jessica, filled with excuses and attempts to blame me for her public humiliation. I've left them all on read. My parents have been calling, wanting to talk, to heal the family, but I've told them I need space. The trust one had is gone, and I don't know if it will ever come back. It's been a few months now, and the dust is starting to settle. I learned a very expensive, very painful lesson about the people I share blood with. I learned that generosity without boundaries is a recipe for being taken advantage of, and that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say no. Sometimes you have to cancel the reservation and let the people who hurt you stand out in the cold, so they can finally feel the consequences of their own choices. Ben and I are closer than ever.
And that bonus I got? I still have most of it.
We're using it to plan a new trip, just the two of us.
We're thinking somewhere warm this time, maybe Hawaii. Somewhere with no snow, no drama, and absolutely no vloggers allowed. It will be our dream, on our terms. And it will be perfect.